Hey, this is Jonathan Gilliam. I'm about to start the show, but everybody keeps telling me they want me to make my commercials for my books shorter. But good grief, I feel like it's so important that I have to tell you exactly what these books can do for you. But I'm going to make it shorter, so here goes. Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival. It's a best-selling book. It will teach you how to look at yourself and your life and your business and your home and your school from the attacker's point of view. There's 2 workbooks that go with it, the Threat Assessment Workbook and the Defense Assessment Workbook. Those are fillable with the knowledge that you get out of Sheep No More. And then for the children, The Adventures of Team Little Bigs, a parent's book for children. The children get the book with the pictures. It has all the lessons built into the pictures. And the parents can go to teamlittlebigs.com, download the lesson plans, and then teach their children through the books. There, I did it in under a minute. Let's start the show. This is Jonathan Gilliam back on the Experts Podcast on a Monday. And we got two more days left in this month. The truth has arrived for June over and over, but I don't know, is anybody else like me where I'm like counting the days down for 2020 to go away? I've never been, I'm a summer guy. Listen, I love the summer, but I have never been more, I don't know what the word is, but I can't wait for this whole year to be over with. Although 2021 could be even worse. You know, like they say about bosses, be careful what you wish for because the other one could be even worse. Like Kim Jong-il and his sister could be worse than Kim Jong-il. I don't know. I really don't know what's to come of this nation, to tell you the truth. But I'm going to talk, as I always do, I scoured the news. And it's slow when the same headlines are on Drudge all weekend. And that's pretty much the case. It's Drudge, because Drudge is the aggregate for all the leftist propaganda. Didn't used to be that way, but I don't know what happened to Drudge, but he is as far left as you can go. And so whoever he's associated with, whoever's doing, taking charge of that, I don't know if it's still him, but it's far left. So, but it's a good indicator because, all media pretty much is ran by the left, all of it. So it's kind of a good indicator when their headlines don't change. That's something, that it's slow. And the way the leftists have been is if there's nothing happening, they'll go out and make news or they'll just make it up. And so when I was, I go over to Drudge and the first thing that comes up is this story about, the Villages. And a protest, I don't know, it was a protest. It wasn't a protest. It was like a parade in support of Trump. It's like a rally. And they were on golf carts, because it's the Villages. If you don't know what the Villages is, it's a retirement community. And I'm sure there are more than your share of patriots that live there. Incredible people. Luckily, they didn't put the Villages in New York State. Otherwise, Cuomo would have killed every single one of them because there's a lot of elderly people there. But if you're like me, I respect my elders, and I like to think that they're worthy of that respect. But after you listen, I'm not even going to play the whole video. I'm just going to play part of it. But anyway, this headline, this is the headline on Drudge. Trump tweets disaster white power, quote unquote, campaign scrambles to boost re-election. Only 5% say things are going very well. Okay. But the tweet disaster was that he retweeted a video about what was going on down at the Villages, which they had this support thing, and the vile, disgusting, just overwhelmingly gross things that were being said by the people on the left there. And of course, this is reported by TMZ. That's the one that Drudge is using for their news reporting. And it says, whoever wrote this, who's the writer of this? I don't even know if they show, just staff. I don't know. But it says, Donald Trump approves rally with supporters screaming white power. As though Donald Trump supported somebody yelling white power. Okay, that was not the case. And even in the headline, when you look at it, it says Donald Trump approves rally with supporters screaming white power. As though when he said he approved of the rally or approves of a rally, that he's somehow approving of this one guy out of the whole entire thing that screams white power. And so when I saw that, I immediately thought, this is just stupid. Typical TMZ. And I was right about that. But as I looked into the story and then reluctantly watched the video, it's not what it adds up to be. But the story, it's written like a teenager wrote it. It says, well, Donald Trump loves his white supremacists because he just gave his stamp of approval on a protest where one of his loudest supporters is screaming white power. Okay. First of all, the whole thing that's written there, I listened to the video or watched the video. I'm going to play part of it here. You're going to see that the guy barely says anything. People are standing in front of his golf cart trying to get him to, they're just harassing him, calling him KKK, calling him rapist, and all these different things because he's a Trump supporter. And granted, this is just one guy and his wife out of a whole flock of people in golf carts, okay? So it's not like the whole lot of them were even involved in this little incident. All of the left that were there, though, these elderly people that are there, are vile, and it's not worthy of respect. I'll put it to you that way. So the second sentence here of propaganda says, it's a bizarre demonstration, counter demonstration. A line of golf carts traverse streets around Sumter County, Florida, with Trump supporters as Trump protesters line the street. You hear demonstrators, mostly seniors, boil over in anger. There's no physical contact, but it's intense. I'm continuing to read. This is what TMZ wrote. Must have been a teenager from TMZ. True to form, Trump retweeted the video saying, thank you to all the great people of the Villages, which is a huge voting community for him. I'm adding that in there. The radical left do nothing. The radical left do nothing. Democrats will fall in the fall. Corrupt Joe is shot. See you soon. That was the tweet. Okay. I don't know if he did tweet the video. Again, and this is TMZ talking. Again, one of his most vocal supporters is the guy who screams white power, one of Trump's great people. So he's not even masking it anymore. Okay. This is so interesting because I was having a conversation today about how the Department of Education is not, this is federally, and the teachers unions, okay, the teachers unions, all of them are far left. I mean, they're literally communist, and that's no joke. Okay, you look at their books that they or their mailers that they put out, little magazines. It's sick what they put out. If you saw what they put out, you would not put your kids in public schools. It's that bad, and they are openly, which is what's so interesting about this last sentence here. So he's not even masking anymore. They're not masking their leftist communist ways anymore. They're not. In fact, they are saying now, these teachers unions, that they are indoctrinating the children so that they don't follow the conservatives in this country. They're literally saying that. So the president did not approve of the white power thing that this guy said, but it's clearly exactly what he's saying. That he approves, he loves the fact that these people are out there supporting him, and that the leftists are going to fall in the fall. But when I listened to the video, okay, and watched it, and you're going to listen to it, I mean, you can still go watch it. It's on my Twitter feed. What I realized is that this guy is not saying anything. I mean, it's a stupid comment. Listen, I'm going to be honest with you. It's a stupid comment. I would never say that, no matter what, no matter how mad, unless you are looking to be vilified, which this guy's probably in his 60s, late 70s. He's probably in his early 70s. He doesn't really care anyway. But I would not say this. Okay. I just would not. You're just asking for a fight if you say this. Okay. So let me, you're going to hear some screaming here for a second, because I'm going to pause it. Okay. I'm going to first play you where he says that, and then I'm going to fast forward to the end, and you can hear from a different angle, because they show this from a different angle, what the other people are saying to him. And what's interesting is the way TMZ edited it is that they don't show this, the lead up to him saying this until the end. So you can't really tell that he was saying this sarcastically in response to the weirdos that were there shouting vile things. Okay, so just listen to this little soundbite, if it can come through. Let's see if it comes through properly.
Where's your wife, Roy? Where's your wife, Roy? Racist. Not in you. White power. Yes, there you go. White power.
Okay, let me rewind that, and so you can hear that. You're going to hear a guy. Let me turn it up a little bit more. You're going to hear a guy yelling, "Where's your white hood? Racist," all these different things. And as the guy goes by with his wife in the golf cart, after he's been basically accosted by this weirdo lady holding a sign that says Trump bigot and racist, and she's telling people to go F themselves. He's now making his way to this guy who's asking him where his KKK hat is, basically, and calling him a racist. And he says this in response to the guy. And you can, I mean, if you watch the video, you're going to see that it's sarcastic and bad taste. I mean, in bad taste, I mean, look what the other people are saying. But I still wouldn't have said this. It was stupid. But just listen to it again. Okay.
Where's your wife, Roy? Where's your wife, Roy? Racist. Not in you. White power. Yes, there you go. White power. You hear that?
Okay. So that was the extent of that. Okay. It was that quick. And it wasn't like the guy was going around yelling white power throughout the whole video. He wasn't. And that I've seen other videos of this, and none of it all comes down to that one moment where people are yelling at him, calling him racist, calling him a Nazi, asking where his hood is. And they're literally 2 feet from the guy and his wife, and they're driving by in a golf cart. And then he says that. But you have to understand the way it's edited. This, what I'm going to play you now, is what was being said to him before he got to the other guy who was asking him where his hood is. Okay. Remember, there's nobody out there with a Confederate flag or with signs up saying white power throughout this. That's not the case. Okay. It's not in your face. It's not somebody who is out there with an agenda. It's just some dude and his wife in a golf cart being harassed by these people to the point where he says something sarcastic back, and they got him. They got him there. And so they take that video, TMZ has it, and then they freaking push that out. But this, see, if it was edited properly, this is what leads up to that, okay?
Fuck Trump! Oh, would you stop the language? Fuck Trump!
Nasty language.
Listen to your president if you want nasty language, you idiot.
Officer! Get back in your car,
Officer!
she said to me. Get back in your
Officer!
car, asshole. Pick out a woman, dickwad. You big boy.
Remember, these are all elderly people. And so I guess the guy stopped his golf cart and he got out. And then he gets back in, and that's where they're calling him all kinds of names. And then that leads up the lady who with the foul mouth, the loudest one out of all of them, which is interesting because if you read that TMZ report, you would think that this guy is the loudest one of all of them. But this lady is louder than anyone. And she's obnoxious as you're watching it. Totally obnoxious. Remember, nothing they are doing has anything to do with black or white or any of these issues. It's the people that come out to protest that hate Trump and hate conservatives. They're the ones who are making it into a black-white issue, right? They're out there supporting Trump. These people that are protesting, and that's what they do. They go out there and they're not peaceful protesters. These are violent people, even though they're old. They're violent. They're getting in front of their golf carts. It's doing the same tactics, just in slow motion, in golf carts rather than cars on the freeway. And they're the ones holding up, wearing Black Lives Matter shirts and holding up these things about rapists and this and stuff. And they're the ones who are causing the ruckus. The rest of the people are literally just driving by in golf carts with Trump flags on it. That's it. So this is the way that propaganda works. And I hate playing this vile stuff, but I'm going to play it some more so you can hear it.
Where's the officer? We don't need fucking Nazi pig. This is what we are.
She just called him an effing Nazi pig. Now remember, every single thing you're hearing in this soundbite are people from the left that are out there trying to start a fight or get somebody to say something so they can use it for a soundbite. The entire soundbite is 2 minutes and 8 seconds long, right? And it's all of the people on the left saying vile, divisive things that they can try to get people to respond to. And then the one guy says one thing. Except for the other ladies who are saying, nice language, what's your language? Those are people on the right. But that one guy says that, and that's the headline.
Wonder. You'll still be crying on November 3rd. Oh, too bad. Too bad. You'll be crying on November 3rd.
Listen to him.
Beat me up. You can beat me up. You little turd. You fucking.
All of this, all 100% is the left. 100%. So this elderly lady called another elderly lady that's driving by in a golf cart an effing turd. This is how bad this is, folks.
Turd. Oh, you go. You're a fucking Nazi, racist pig. That's what you are.
And she's following them down the road as she's saying this. And it's not just her. There's several people. I mean, listen, it wasn't like there were tens of thousands of people out there. Let's just be honest. It looked like there was maybe a dozen. But the vile comments that are coming out of these people's mouths are not being reported at all. It's just being this one little soundbite's being shown. See, you got to be smart when you deal with these leftists because this lady's probably in her late 70s. She's probably been doing this since she was a teenager. So they know how to pull those strings. Just got to keep on driving by and ignore it unless you're ready for the fallout, which I'm sure this guy's going to get the fallout. And it went all the way up to the president. The president is getting fallout for this because he tweeted the video. I think it's an excellent example. This video is excellent. That's why I retweeted it. It's an excellent example of the filth of the left. Excellent. But that one guy has to say that. Even though he was saying it sarcastically in response, he still said it. I'm going to play the rest of this. Or part of it.
Trump, 4 more.
Where the minority?
So that was a conservative person, stopped his golf cart and said, Trump, 4 more. That's it. Here's some more lefties.
That support Trump. Exactly. They don't come out because they will not vote for him.
See, and they're constantly yelling, where's your white hood? Where's your white hood? That's as racist as you can get, folks. Listen, racism doesn't have to be a white person calling a black person something or Asian person or whatever. It can be anybody. It could be a white person saying something to a white person. It is racist. And it's a nasty, vile thing. And it's an example of where this country is going. I'm not going to play any more of this. It's just ridiculous. It saddens me, but it also sickens me to know that I served this country for over 20 years so that people could be free. And this is what it's turned into. It's a sick thing. And these are, again, these are people that should get my respect. I mean, these are people from the greatest generation or right after, their children, which, to be honest with you, okay, I'm going to be perfectly honest, the greatest generation of people that fought in World War II, how the whole nation rallied together, amazing. They rose to the occasion. And then they completely failed at raising their children. Besides the current lot of weirdos that are graduating high school or still in high school, the generation right after the World War II generation was the beginning of the end. They just failed. When they came back from the war, they completely failed at instilling whatever it was that they had in them from their fathers and mothers. They completely failed in instilling that. Now, I'm not saying everyone. I'm sure people are going to be listening and say, that's not the way I am. I turned out right. Great. Happy for you. Congratulations. But when you look at society, that is not the case. And you can trace it back to right at that point in time. That's when, even in politics, the Secretary of Defense began and the Secretary of War went away. The Department of War turned into the Department of Defense. I mean, we've never won a war since. Those generals, when it was the Department of War and we were in World War I and World War II, man, they kicked effing ass. And they won. There wasn't a war that they lost. But right after that, right down into the crapper. Along with the way the morals and ethics were taught and the Department of Education, and all these unions sprung up. And while they served a purpose at that point, it just went down and further down into the dumper. And then TV came about, and that destroyed everything. I think I've talked about this before. Richard Nixon and John F. Kennedy, the first televised debate in history. And those who listened to it on the radio, because most people still listen to it on the radio, all agreed that Nixon won. But almost unanimously, all the people who watched it said that John F. Kennedy won. John F. Kennedy was younger. He was more handsome. Nixon wasn't feeling good, and he was sweating like crazy. And he looked nervous. But if you were listening to the radio and you actually listened to what they had to say, you saw that Nixon actually knew what he was saying more than Kennedy. And the Kennedys, another thing, the Kennedys were the beginning of the end for politics. Not to say that politics didn't have crap all in it before. I mean, when you get to that level, you're never going to get away from the elitism and the like kings and queens. Same thing when you get down into the trenches of the modern day worker. By and large, I think the conservatives in this country have shown that as long as you give somebody a little bit of comfort, they're not going to work for anything to support freedom. They'll let it just be stolen right away from them. But John F. Kennedy began that, or put it into overdrive, that royalty type of image for political leaders. And I use those two words very loosely in the same sentence. So it started right around that time. People started looking at politicians as celebrities, and we've never been able to regain the strength of this nation since. It's gotten worse and worse. It came up a little bit with Ronald Reagan, but nobody else really, up until this president, really was focused on leadership of the nation. Everybody else got into politics. I mean, I'd say George Bush 43, if he wasn't such a globalist, could have done some really great things. But he was just like the current president. He's inundated with swamp, and Bush was swamp. There's no doubt about it. He is swamp. So when I watch that video, because I have a lot of feelings, as you do, that are listening to this right now. I kind of stepped away from social media this weekend, except to promote my show, because it's just gotten to a point where I don't even think that the weirdo leftists realize what they're doing, right? They do this over and over again. They go out and they ruin everything to the point where it affects their own well-being, and then everything collapses. And if you look throughout history, those are the people, when everything collapses, that they either die or they become impoverished, and then they just grow old and go away. I mean, they do it's throughout history. This is repeated over and over and over again. They freedom occurs or good times in a place, and all of a sudden these people will rise up and say, it's not good enough. We need to progress. It's not equal, or this or this or this. And never before in the history of mankind has there been a nation like the United States or a constitution like we have. It is the Constitution. And these leftists, what they do throughout history is they get into a place that's doing good, and for some strange reason, I have a feeling it has to do with Satan. That's my own take on it, but they just start pushing, and they push. And whereas everybody else is trying to enjoy their lives or make money for their families, these people, many of them dependents, they live at home, but most of them are guided by things other than ethics and morals. They're guided by narcissism historically. And we went over this a couple shows back about the different areas in which they kind of float to, the way that these people that are leftists let me see if I can find it here real quick, where they're kind of called, because they're narcissists, they're called to this. That's where liberation theology, Catholic liberation theology, and black liberation theology, all those, you look up the Catholic, let me see if I can remember what the name of it is. Look up Catholic theology, okay? And you look at certain groups that are involved with that, and I had it written down here, but I don't have it here in front of me. When we had the good doctor on, Cody McGinnis was on, and we were talking about Catholic liberation theology. There's groups that call themselves Catholics, but they're actually communists. They're leftists that are operating in this country. But when we look at these narcissists, we look at glory seekers, hero worshipers, radical altruists. That means that they think they can save everyone, right? Because they're greater than everyone. And then the lonely romantics that believe in the calling. See, all of these people, what links them all together, and some of them crisscross, is that the glory seekers, of course, are looking for fame. It's a narcissistic thing. The hero worshipers are looking for approval from powerful people. That's a narcissistic thing. The radical altruists believe ultimately that they are the only ones that can save whatever, and that's narcissism. And then the lonely romantics, they're caught up in these larger than life type of adventures that they create in their minds, or that other people have created, and they go right along with it for the greater good. And all along, the only reason they're in it is because they're narcissists, not because of the greater good. They really don't care about the greater good. You can look at all these weirdos on Twitter or all these other social media platforms that have gone around the country attacking teachers, attacking police officers, and even in firefighters are getting attacked. And when they look at themselves as the heroes, the glory seekers. They think that or the radical altruists, they think that they're making the difference. Somebody was quote unquote sexually assaulted, then they make their whole page for a while about sexual assault. And then when that kind of loses its luster, all of a sudden Black Lives Matters to them. And then if it's not that, then they're going to go on to something else. And they get, the only reason that they're doing these things is because they have a shit life they had shit parents, and they have a shit possibility of any type of future. And so they hate who they are. You look at their pictures, look at these Antifa pictures. They look like every loser you ever knew in high school. And somehow, they are the ones that are actually making changes in this country. Whether it's good changes or not, they're the ones who are actually doing it. When did that happen? Now, I'm not saying that greatness is based on looks, but I'm not the greatest looking person in the world, but I'm not a weirdo. These people are weird. They look weird. They think weird. They talk weird. They are weird. Why? Because they're narcissistic nobodies. And in order to make themselves somebody, they grasp on to something like these movements, a Black Lives Matter group who is full. Remember, the leaders, and this is what nobody ever points out, and this is why they get fired from stuff, okay? Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matters, okay, the group was started by leftists who have a leftist agenda. They are black liberation theology worshipers, just like liberation theology is just like Catholic liberation theology. If you just took the black out of it and you took Catholic out of the other one and you just put liberation theology, they're all the same. Now, it doesn't mean, just like with Catholic liberation theology, there's people who do things that think that they're all in there doing God's work. You know, one of these groups in particular, and I'm sorry, I don't have the name of it here, and I'm not going to go research it right now. I'll have to bring it up on a different, so I make sure I get it right, but I do know what they're about. This Catholic group that is integral to bring these people from Syria over, these immigrants over, these refugees, if you will, from Syria. They are integral in that, and they get sponsorships and they get people in communities. One of my buddies was telling me about in West Virginia. There's a t-shirt factory there, right? Unemployment is sky high in West Virginia. But this group, what they did was they worked with the local politicians and they brought in 100, it's something like 100 of these, 50 or 100 of these refugees from Syria into this small town in West Virginia. They all get, I don't know, it's a tremendous amount of money. They get their rent paid for, and they all got jobs in that t-shirt factory. Meanwhile, you have homeless people who aren't drug addicts. They just don't have, the unemployment is so bad in West Virginia, they can't even get a job. They don't even have a home. And they can't get a job there. The government's not giving them any money. And the reason why they're doing that is because they're trying to destroy the middle class, and they're trying to destroy the American way of life. It's not about taking care of Syrians. It's about destroying the jobs for everybody else that are citizens here. And it's also about bringing people in, just like they did in Germany, to break down the culture of America. And there is an American culture. So it doesn't matter if it's Black Lives Matter or Catholic liberation theology. It's all liberation theology. And what people don't realize is that they go out and they say, you know, they start criticizing Black Lives Matter. What they don't realize in all this are these other people, these glory seekers, hero worshipers, these radical altruists and lonely romantics, these narcissistic people who follow these different liberation theology groups because it fills that void of shit, like I was talking about before. Shit life, shit future, shit past when they were growing up. Sorry for using that word, but it fits. So when people get themselves in trouble, it's because they're just looking at Black Lives Matter. They don't even realize what they're actually dealing with, which is liberation theology. And most of the people in these groups don't realize it because they're so strung out on the need for inclusion and the need for recognition. All these young people, and as you can see, apparently elderly people as well, that they don't even realize what they're getting into. And before long, historically, what happens is they destroy everything. even their own chance to be free and happy, the real chance to climb out of the shit. But what do? They create more shit. And they turn everything that was good into shit. I mean, this is the way it works. I don't know why it works like this, but it seems to be working again and again and again. Critical thinking has decreased to the point where people don't even think critically. They don't think. They think clearly on emotion. That's it. They think clearly based on their role in these movements that are created by leftists, communists, socialists, globalists, liberation theology weirdos. Now, the more that I see of this, the more I understand what's happening when you look at social media, for instance. A lot of people are jumping over to Parler. I am hesitant to go over to Parler, and I'll tell you why. Because they have the same rules and regulations as Twitter and Facebook. You know, you can only add a certain amount of people a day on Parler. People can add you all you want. You get 100,000 followers in one day. But if you yourself follow more than a certain amount, then you have to wait like 24 or 48 hours before you can add anyone else. So what are they doing immediately? They're restricting you. Also, I don't trust any of these people. The only person I trust that has made one of these social media outlets is my good friend Drago. You can hear his story in episode number 2. He was a Polish citizen, was put in jail for 3 years because he was part of the Freedom Underground there. And he got out because of Pope John Paul. Took him years to get over to the United States, finally got here. Took him years to get his citizenship. Once he did that, he immediately enlisted in the Navy, became a Navy SEAL and was there for 20 years, retired, got out, and now he's a computer expert. And he started a thing called Connect Zing. Connect Zing, one word, .com. And it's another Facebook, Twitter type platform. But the reason I trust him is because he is scared to death of what's going on in this country. He's also not a billionaire from Silicon Valley. He is the real deal. He and his wife both are amazing veterans. And they care about this country and they see the importance of social media because now it's truly how we communicate. And so he created Connect Zing because he himself had been censored for just talking the truth. But this was several years ago. About the time that I got pushed off of all these different platforms on my video show, The Experts, after I criticized David Hogg, who's now one of these super winners at Harvard. Don't think you've ever heard the last of David Hogg. Okay, he's going to be back. Trust me. He looks like literally somebody sucked the life out of Pee Wee Herman and dyed his hair black. That's what David Hogg looks like now. So I don't know about Parler. I don't know, but I will tell you this. Connect Zing is great. I like it. But what I do see, regardless if it's Parler or Connect Zing, what I'm starting to see is that conservatives, constitutionalists, and others, they're leaving Twitter and Facebook. And they're leaving as fast as they can. Now, Twitter and Facebook, primarily leftists, believe that they've done a good job of censoring those voices and cutting them off. But that's not actually what's happening. And I really would suggest if you hear this, that's not what you do. Like a job, you don't leave your job if you're unhappy with it until you have another job or you've figured out what you're going to do, or if you're financially stable and you can. I think it's the same thing with social media now. Many people think that social media is just crap and it's where kids get on and do that, but it's not. Social media it can get you fired. It can get you hired. It can, instead of people protesting on the street, they can protest and really dominate social media and change the entire flow of the media. I know, I've seen it. I've been a part of it. Unfortunately, it's controlled by the left. But while they think that everybody should, like, and their goal, the leftist goal, remember, just like that leftist theology, is to go on social media, because now it's the way we communicate, is to go on there, and not just communicate, it's where people get their media. Their goal is to go on there and stifle the voices of conservatives so bad that they literally have no voice. They're doing the same thing on the street with the protests. They're doing the same thing with the statues, same thing with Christ. They don't want you to have a voice. So on social media, they're going there and they're trying to stamp out your voice, stamp out your First Amendment. What they don't realize is that everybody that's leaving is going to either Parler or Connect Zing, right? Or, and I don't know if there's others, but those two mainly. And so what is happening is that those people still have a voice. I mean, the reality is their voice is to talk with each other, not argue with leftist trolls. And that's where the trolls get it wrong. And these bots, that weirdo leftist Stanley McChrystal and that group that worked for DARPA, they came up with artificial intelligence that tries to basically smother your conservative voice on these social media platforms. Openly did it. Openly have done it. And they think that they're doing a good job doing that. But what they don't realize is that these people are leaving and they're going to another place where they actually have a voice. And what's going to be left on Twitter and Facebook is going to be the left talking to themselves. And this is the greatest gift we could ever have, because ultimately this is what happens. Everything falls apart. When the left is talking to themselves, you know that everybody has either left, that their leader has been conquered, or their business has completely failed, or in this place, the country. When the leftists, when the communists, the globalists, the socialists, the liberation theologists, when they are talking to each other and nobody else is around, they think they've won. But reality, that is the beginning of the end for them, because they have proven time and time again throughout history that they cannot sustain anything when they don't have an enemy. Their goal, they're like a virus, okay? They come in, they take over the body, and they destroy the body to the point where the body dies and the virus doesn't have it. The body is basically destroyed. The virus destroys its host. And that's what happens time and time again with leftists. They go in there, especially when a place is doing really well, they get in there, they destroy the host, and then they're left with nothing. Financial destruction, no ethics and morals. Things get dirty, they get dangerous, and then the next thing you know, like California, they move to Arizona, or they move to Texas, or the New Yorkers who left and went down to Florida and ruined Florida. Texas is being ruined. Colorado was ruined. Arizona is being ruined, all by the leftists from California. The only reason why Portland, or I would say Portland, but Oregon and Washington State have not been ruined is because they're too vast as far as land goes. And it's not good terrain. It's hard to live on that terrain. We're talking about mountains and things like that. I'm sure there's people out there that would love that, but the majority of people that are leaving California don't want to go climb a mountain and live on the side of it, okay? So those people go to other cities and they destroy it. So when I saw this and started to see this picture emerging, I wasn't shocked, but it was very interesting because it's a historical fact. It's what they do. I don't know if it's a narcissistic thing and basically it actually is. It's like social narcissism, because narcissists do the same thing. If you ever dated a narcissist, or you had somebody that was a boss that was a narcissist, or somebody in your family, what they do is they go and they seek out things that make them look good. So a narcissist guy will go seek out a good-looking girl, or a successful woman. A narcissist woman will go and find somebody that when he walks in a room, he's noticed, right? And so they get that person and they tell them whatever. They're like little computers, man. They'll sit there and they'll say, okay, I need to shift left, or I need to shift right. And they play this chess game to make the person feel like they're winning, like they got the greatest person in the world. Once the narcissist gets them in their grasp, they spend every waking moment trying to degrade that person with 1,000 cuts. And once they get them down, instead of completely like a psychopath would completely destroy them, narcissists get them to a point and then they stop. And what happens is now they've become their secondary energy, because a narcissist constantly has to have energy. That's how they fulfill themselves. So they push this person down, they hold them there, and then they go out and they seek their primary source of energy, which is people outside of the home. Or in the case of people who say that they hate this nation, they seek approval from people around the world or other people by saying they hate the government, they hate Trump, they hate conservatives, they hate this, and this. They hate the Constitution, and they hate the founding fathers. So they're doing that stuff so they can get a rise out of people so those people hate them, because it doesn't matter their energy as long as they're getting energy. They're fine with people hating them and really raging on them. But then at the same time, if you look at all these leftists, like in Hollywood, for instance, like that guy, I can't even remember his name. He played Hellboy the very first time, and he was in that show. What the heck was that show about the motorcycle gang? Geez, my brain just went crazy. Ron Perlman. Right? He played Hellboy and also played in the Sons of Anarchy. People like Ron Perlman that are actors, what you see with them is that they bask in the glory when they have a movie, or if they're singers a song, or if they're on Broadway a play. And then when that glory fades, these people become activists, right? And they are fine with the hatred as long as they still have the people who worship them. And so when what they don't realize that all these trolls, like if you said something to Ron Perlman, which I made the mistake of doing, I'm going to be honest with you. I went and commented when he was going off on Ted Cruz, and I said something. It was all true. These people, because I think he has black wife and half black kids. So that apparently makes him know more about what's good for people in this world than anyone else. Although he, made his money in racist Hollywood. To my knowledge, he's never donated money to the inner city and led and taken his apparent knowledge of all great things of how all races should get together. He's never gone in the inner city and fixed what's happening in the inner city. So what these people like Ron Perlman, they know in their hearts that they're worthless, right? But they mask that by approval and hatred. They don't care either one. He'll take it. It doesn't matter to him. And so but the interesting was when I criticized him, oh my gosh, I was getting eaten alive by these trolls, what they call ratioing somebody, where they just overwhelm their Twitter feed or their post with all these negative comments. And so, but all those people are also supporting Ron Perlman, right? So he would makes some stupid tweet and he gets 150,000 or 200,000 retweets or comments or likes. And if you go against it, you're going to be hammered. And so somebody like Ron Perlman's stupid enough to think that he is deserving of that popularity from the people on the left that are supporting him. What he fails to realize is that he's shooting himself in the head, because those people don't give a crap about him either. They're narcissists and they're jumping on his fame bandwagon for their own sake. So what you actually see is this cycle of destructive events with these narcissists that they play until they bury everyone, including themselves. And I've started to see that on the left, it's really, really interesting. It's not just a person who's a narcissist. It is literally narcissist groupthink. And I reflect back on my buddy Mike, who was a cop down in Jersey. And he told me he could take two crack addicts that have never met each other, take them to different sides of the town without introducing them, and within 2 weeks, those people will find each other. And that's the way it is with these narcissists, especially in today's age of social media. They will find each other, they will cling together, and follow the narrative. Because remember, folks, the narcissist keeps those who are close to them as their secondary form of energy. They seek the approval. They seek the inclusion. They seek the notoriety. They seek the fame, the glory that people looking at them saying, you are really making a difference. And they ride that wave. That is their primary form of energy. You really want a good example of this, not just Hollywood. Look at any of these young people who go to D.C., especially on the left, who become aides to a congressman or interns on the Hill. These people are, a lot of them go and write for publications afterwards as though they know so much stuff. And majority of stuff is editorial, not just reporting. But they think, and you read their tweets and they say things like, we hear you, we understand you, we stand with you. What? You just graduated high school. But there's the narcissism pushes them to believe that they're on this great mountain and that they're making great strides. And sometimes, as weird as it sounds, some of them actually get elected, like AOC, and get elected by 16,000 people. I mean, I think I know 16,000 people on social media that if I really wanted to, I might be able to get elected somewhere. And AOC, basically what she did is a group of people got together and determined that would be the best place to get somebody elected on the left. And she literally volunteered for the position. Excuse me, not volunteered, auditioned for the position. And volunteered, I guess. So that's what's actually happening as far as the left goes. Now, I want to say one more thing, and I'm going to keep saying this over and over before I close out. I've been saying to all the conservatives out there that you are to blame for what's happening in this country. Now, I don't know what Amy Kramer's motivation was when she put this post up today. And I'm good friends with Amy, and this is not a criticism on her at all by any means. But she put a post out today. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. It was actually yesterday when she put it up. And the post was, and I haven't even looked at it, is the ship sinking? That's what she wrote. Now, a lot of the reports are coming out and they're saying that, you know, Trump is thinking about quitting, or that the people aren't backing him, and that the polls are destroying him. I mean, they said the same thing in 2016. He crushed it. Okay. So I'm not really worried about that so much. Although the conservatives do scare me because they didn't come out and win the House after Trump was elected. They didn't even go to the polls. It was a landslide. Democrats won everywhere. That's why they control the House, and that's why the president has had such a hard time. That's why all this stuff is going on. You may think it's because president this or that. It's because Congress has been able to stifle the president's ability to do anything. It's because Congress has allowed this influx of communism into the country. It's because Congress makes a big deal about things in the media that the president can't, because they are a part of the media, the leftists in Congress. They got into power because the conservatives in this country, constitutionalists in this country, the libertarians in this country, I don't even know what you all are, but you literally failed at the polls. So when Amy posted this today, is the ship sinking? I don't know what her motivation was behind that. But what I wrote, because all these people are saying, not at all, Trump will win. Trump 2020, they're not going to take us. I'm standing up against that. You know, all these people, everybody has all this great stuff to say, you know, like, let the left come. We're the ones with the guns. We'll fight them. You know, let them go after my Second Amendment over, you know, I'd rather, you know, blah, blah, whatever they come up with. The fact is, and this is what I wrote, funny thing, everyone on this post, this is my response to it, that says, no, the ship is not sinking, would 100% right now not put their life on the line and risk death or jail time to fix what is happening in this country. An interesting thing, only one person that I know liked that. Nobody else on there liked it when I said that. Why? Because they all know that's the truth. They won't risk going to jail. They won't risk dying. I mean, that's why we're in this position, folks. Now, I disagree with, I've had conversations with other people that, this is not time for action, that we need to come together and discuss things and have dialogue. I believe in all that. But you need to, I'm going to leave this with you right now, okay? I've said this before. Now, I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. The reason why things have gone haywire in this nation so quickly is because of inaction by those who love the country, those who hate it, those narcissists who want recognition for some kind of good deed by destroying what the founding fathers put here. They are making it happen. They're pushing it forward. But the inaction by the people who love the nation is why it's being allowed to happen. Now, the left will eventually destroy themselves. That's the way it always is in history. They finally push and push until they get the host like a virus, and then they destroy it. Now is your time to be the vaccine, to be the cure, to destroy the left. I'm Jonathan Gilliam. This is The Experts. The truth has arrived. Peace, and we're out.